the biggest entrepreneur platform on the planet. This is Business Rockstars.
This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and joining us right now, we got Sean Malone and Chris Baden. They're the co-founders of the Digital Genius Lab. Pleasure to have you guys on the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Excited to be here.
I'm loving the shirts. I feel like I'm flashback to the Matrix here, and I know that it's actually from your business, so give us a little bit more context. What the heck do you guys do?
Well, our shirt's right here says, I am a digital genius. We make digital geniuses in the Digital Genius Lab. And this is actually binary code for I am a digital genius.
And ones and zeros. So if I put that in the computer, it would tell me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
pretty much, right?
I love it. So, all right, I'm an entrepreneur. How the heck are you guys going to help me? How are we going to work together?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what we're providing is a marketing platform for entrepreneurs and business owners and making that transition online. The problem that we're solving in the marketplace is when someone's first coming online, there's an immediate overwhelmed feeling. Why? Because there's at least 5 to 7 minimum software programs that you need. And so what we're doing is we're putting those all into one and we're delivering it at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm liking this because you're looking at Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, lead pages, blah, blah, blah,
And
blah,
we have
blah.
licensed all of those.
Yeah, for sure. And to add to that, actually, yeah, so our focus is actually impact into the world. Like, our one cause in the world is to end world thirst. That's what we're going after. That's our mission. That's our vision.
I love that. How important do you think it is, by the way? Because that's a trend right now, having a for-purpose, for-profit business. Sure. Instead of going for the charity, you actually just have a business that's for profit, but at the same time, it's attached to a purpose. How did you guys choose water?
Well, you take
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
that's awesome. That kind of takes us back into our beginning of our story. So like when I actually, if we were to rewind a little bit, when I first started, growing up and everything else, and I got into the dating game, I decided that I wanted to have some depth to the person that I was dating, and I had all these tests that I would put these girls through. And when I found my wife, Melissa, we went on a date, and the depth test is what I'd call it, right? Because I had all these tests they had to pass. And one of the ones I said to her, Melissa, I said, hey, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And she said, well, let me ask, have you ever been really thirsty? Like, have you ever been really thirsty? Thirsty so bad you get a headache, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, yes, yes, yes. And she goes, well, if I had all the money in the world, I would want to end world thirst. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I kind of didn't think of anything at that point. And fast forward about 8 years, I got the chance to go whitewater rafting in Zambezi, on the Zambezi River in Zambia. And as we were coming out of the trip, we got into a truck and we were driving up the hill through our guide's village. And I said, how's your village going? His name was Spud. And he said, oh, it's great, except the women spend like 40% of their time searching for water all day long. I was like, what do you mean? And he said, here, I'll show you. And he opens a cooler, and we're right in the middle of his village, and he threw out hundreds and hundreds of ice cubes. And all of his village guys dove into these ice cubes, like grabbing them like they were fighting. I've never seen anything like it. And instantly, my mind snapped back to that date. I was like, that's the girl I'm going to marry because she wants to end world thirst. This is now another sign, and it hit me deep in the heart. And so fast forward a little bit further, when we climbed online several years ago, we didn't have all the pieces and parts put together until we met this guy. And he actually brought the structure and the last parts of everything that we needed. So you want to share that part of the story?
And he just likes water, so
yeah,
he just likes drinking.
Yeah, well, he's
Yeah.
a business builder, so yeah. That's,
Well, I've always felt like if you want to accomplish something greater than yourself, it's going to take more than yourself. And that starts with solid partnerships. And as far as impact and I feel contribution, it's not an option, it's a duty. And so with all that starting, we bumped into a guy that had this sweatshirt on, and it said never thirst. And I was like, well, what's that? We were at another event. And he started explaining that they provide clean drinking water for third world countries. And for me, I have 2 boys under the age of 2. And thinking about being a dad, not being able to provide for my marriage, my family is one of the biggest fears I have. And if the options were, my boys don't drink water, they're obviously going to die. But if the only other option was to drink contaminated water and they would still die, I couldn't handle that. I was like, I'm in, let's partner. And that parallels with the business that we're building perfectly. And we're like, and I was just grateful, again, talking about partnerships. I have a partner like Sean and Mel. They had this whole story, which I didn't even know about. And we just looked at each other. We both were
like
in
that
before
was
we even
it.
said it.
How the
and
universe connects the
yeah,
dots.
for sure. And it was so crazy because we had been making a statement online, and then when we found this piece, it was like, oh, that's the missing link, right? That's how we felt. So, and so now, like everybody that comes in our community, in our movement, right, a percentage of anything that comes into our program goes towards building water wells for third world countries.
And I wish I could sit here and be like, Mark, listen, here's the game plan. We drew it out. We knew exactly what we're doing, but that's not how it went. It's just we're figuring it out as we go, just like anyone really has to do.
Yeah, like what is it? Entrepreneurs build the plane as it's like on the runway taking
that's
off.
it.
So, I understand you said a little bit about how you met, but like, how did it actually transpire? How did you guys actually connect? Were you both already planning on doing this? And then you came together?
So Melissa and I were looking for a way to experience everything together. Like so because when I grew up, my parents, I love them to death, right? But my dad was never home. And so it was always one of those things where he was never home, and I didn't want that for when I got older. And so then when we got together, we decided, like, look, we got to experience everything together. We got to break the fabric of the 9-to-5 world because that traditional lifestyle sucks, and now we don't like it. And so we searched for 10 plus years, spent thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on things that just fail. Anything from like multi-level to other different network marketing to whatever, business models that we tried and just failed. And then finally we found a community of people that taught us a skill set, and that skill set attracted him to us, and that's really where we connected, was through business.
And that skill set specifically is online skills. You know, it's our belief that if you're not getting plugged in with social media and marketing online, you're in the past. It's just something you can't ignore at this point.
100%. So on that note, for a lot of the businesses out there that are trying to decide how they want to use social media, or if they even need to get online at all, what would your advice be? What would be some of the best steps they could take?
First, identify where you're going. What is your outcome? What is the result that you want to create? Whether that's business model, lifestyle, what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then find people that are getting those results. And I know, that's been said a lot, but it's just true. That's the process that we went through when we bring others through.
A lot of people don't do that, though. To us, it's common sense, but sometimes common sense isn't always common practice. And it's obvious, right? You have a result that you want, find someone who has it, figure out how they did it, learn from them. But you were going to add on to that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to add to that, like the bigger piece of that is to make an impact. Like, what is like the great Steve Jobs, the late great Steve Jobs, you said, how can you ding the universe, right? So like, what is that cause? Because we feel and we believe that when you have a cause that's bigger just than yourself or your business or anything else, it gives you the momentum. And once you get into momentum and you develop cadence and rhythm and you have that flow going towards an end goal, you win the game, right?
Yeah, it's huge. And being a part of that bigger piece, I think, hits on one more really important part of being an entrepreneur, starting a business. When you're doing that, you're stepping out. You're putting yourself out there, and you can't hide anymore. And so myself, just a little bit about my story growing up, I had this drive to just be somebody great, and it starts from a place of gratitude. I've believed that this life is a miracle. It's a gift. And all the time, focus, love, energy, gifts, talents, abilities were first given to me. And it's my job, my duty to cultivate those, develop those, be bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, and contribute and share with this world and leave it a better place than I came into it as. And with that, what does that look like? It looks like strong partnerships. It looks like impact. It looks like learning from those and that know more than I do. And
for sure.
Taking it one day at a time, because it is scary.
I want to cut you off because there's people out there that might say, and I 100% align with you, but I got to play devil's advocate, because there's people out there that are going to say, yeah, well, if you were born in the right environment, if you grew up with the right parents, the right education, but I wasn't. I didn't have that. So what do you say to the naysayer out there who's limiting themselves with their own disempowering language? What do you say to somebody who doesn't have those things and doesn't think they were born with a good hand?
Well, I would just simply respond by saying, what's stopping you from seeking that? Right? Like if you have the ability to go to a public library and read a book on something, or reach out through email, like books are great.
You have access to Google and YouTube.
Yeah, if you have access to the internet, if you have a smartphone or even a flip phone with internet capabilities, like you can make it work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, the problem that with all those beliefs, it sounds great, but the problem that I was running into is I didn't know my thing. I didn't know where I fit in. I didn't know I didn't feel special or great. And I still don't, to some extent, to be honest. But when I found building a business online, I've been blessed with more success than I ever have in my life. And now I've been able to help others do that. And in doing that, I found my voice. and I'm helping others find their voice. It's a tool. It's like a megaphone that just amplifies what's going on, and everyone has that unique ability that they can share with the world and make it a better place.
So I want to know real quick, and I love what you were adding there. I want to shift gears because there's a partnership right here. We're talking to both of you, and I want to know. I think a lot of people out there, they struggle to have good relationships, just in general, let alone a business partnership. And there's this paradox of advice: never partner with your friend. And I think that sometimes it's the best thing, and sometimes it can be the worst. How do you guys make the partnership work? But more importantly, what are a couple key tips that others can take away so they can develop better relationships?
Yeah, so I would say definitely communication is one of the key pieces in any partnership, and one of the things that we do that your audience might be able to get some growth from would be we do something called Business Build Thursday. So every Thursday we have dedicated that day to working on the business, on the systems, on our relationship, on our communication, where the directional strategic guidance of where the ship is going, and making sure that all the right players are on the right seats in the bus. And that's really helped us to grow kind of in the right direction. And I would say that's a big piece.
Although that's his answer. What about you?
Yeah, communication's huge, and just to add to that is values. And so I'm going to take it back to the first time we hung out, which was on the golf range. And this guy was ranked number 8 in the world for long drive champion.
Wow.
And I played golf in college.
Like Adam Sandler.
Yeah, pretty much.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm just on the range trying to swing out of my shoes to keep up with him. But at that point, we were also building a relationship, and I saw his work ethic. Being somebody that was working towards going pro in golf, being a D1 golfer is my big goal, and I decided not to go pro. I remember that day, actually, too. It was complete dread. I was like, oh my gosh, I failed as a person. I'm not going to be a professional athlete. But he took it to that level, and he went there, and I know what that took, and the value is work ethic. And Sean and his wife, Melissa, are the people that will not stop until it's right.
So what is something that you would tell somebody who's sitting on the fence about going all in on their own passion, their own charity, their own vision for their life? I know you guys are huge on living life on your own terms and helping people do the same, whether it's a solopreneur or a small business with employees. So what's your advice for that person sitting on the fence and they're like, I want to go in and partner and follow a purpose and a business and make a difference, but I'm afraid?
Yeah, there's one I could start with, and it is to start. It's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Even when you have things running well, it's still not perfect, and you won't know unless you start. And taking a chance on yourself, investing in yourself. Some people are like, oh, I'm afraid to fail, Mark. And I guess someone really challenged me at one point on failure. What is failure? Like, oh, I lost every penny. Oh, it didn't work, wasn't successful. I don't view that as failure. I view that as I know a lot more now. Either I get results or I get reasons why I didn't get results. And then you keep going forward. You only fail when you stop.
And I love that, because I know before you jump on, that's truly one of the things that, whether it's in the exact same seat you're sitting in, billionaires, celebrities, top Olympic athletes, some of the most successful business people in the world. We got Damon John from Shark Tank. Some of the biggest people in the world have sat in those same chairs, and they're saying the same thing.
Oh, yeah?
And that's,
Well,
but I love
exciting.
it because
Yeah.
success leaves clues.
Yeah, for
And the one thing that's just hands down in common with everybody who sat in these chairs is they don't look at failure as a bad thing.
Learning
They look at
experience.
it as a learning experience. So what was your thing going to be?
Yeah, I was just going to add, instead of having the camera, your personal camera shining out at everyone else, evaluating what everyone else is doing, reflect it back on yourself. Turn yourself inside. You're the only one who can write your story. You're the author of your life, right? So you can only write your story for the future, right? So if you shine it out on everyone else, who's the camera looking on you? It's never going to happen.
So personal responsibility, that's huge. Sure. All right, so people say they want to learn more about the Matrix Code over here at the Digital Lab. Tell us how we can do that. Is there a website? Is there social media? Where do people want to go?
Yeah, we actually have something special for you. DigitalGeniusRockstars.com is the place. You can learn a little bit more in a masterclass that we're going to offer, but also for the first 10 people that actually sign up from your show, we're going to offer them a free piece of shirt that says Digital
First 10,
Genius.
there it is.
Yep, and it's got our attractive character right there. His name is Digit. So
it looks like a little Albert
yeah,
Einstein.
so this one's actually for you.
Oh, wow.
You can keep that one. So you are officially
Appreciate
a digital
you guys.
genius. We are so grateful.
I'm a digital genius, guys.
Yeah, you are.
I love it. Appreciate you guys for
Cool.
coming on the show.
Yeah,
thanks, Mark.
Thank
You
you
rock.
very much.
Thanks. I'm Mark Lack. This is Business Rockstars. Apparently, I am now a digital genius as well. If you guys want to watch more of our shows, you can go over to Facebook or, as always, businessrockstars.com.